We got a little special program today too, and we are going to end a little early today because we're going to be able to, I think, go over and tour the building that Gary and April have been working on. So they're going to come up, Will's going to introduce them, they'll talk about the project, and then have an opportunity to go over there and actually tour it. So at this time, I'll let Will come up and introduce our speakers.
Well, I think Jonathan said pretty much what I was going to say. I think everyone does know Gary and April, but we're glad to have them here, and they're going to speak on the Bailey building they've been renovating over the past year or so. So with that being said, I'll introduce Gary and April to come speak.
Heard that. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for allowing us to come up and speak. As Jonathan said, we're going to leave and go over just to tour the building. But the elevator, we have added the elevator, but it's not been approved yet to ride people on. So if you come over, it is 2 flights of stairs to get to the second, third floor. So just kind of keep that in mind when we're walking over there. So I'll let April start.
Okay. I was going to start with just how we came to know the building. In about, 2012, I think, was our first look at the building when George Love owned it with some other partners, and he took Gary over to see it. Mm-hmm. Gary said, "This building is beautiful. You've got to check it out."
Have her hold it.
You had to hold the microphone.
I don't speak very loudly anyhow. I told Gary that's a good thing to be married to somebody that's not too loud.
She's in a house full of boys, so.
Yeah, I need to get louder, but it hasn't happened yet. So we actually have some cool pictures of our kids running through the building in 2013. So that was, I just found them a few days ago, and that was neat to see. But we seriously looked at the building in 2019 when it was for sale from Mike Glasgow that lives in Nashville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And at that time we decided he was just selling it by floors, and we just weren't interested in buying only the second floor, only second and third floor. So somehow it came back around, and we settled on, well, actually we were looking at a different building, and I had a weak moment, but Gary and I have been married, this is our 23rd year of marriage, and I would say we communicate well together, and he knows when he can strike. And I said something when we were looking at a different building, but it just isn't near as beautiful as the other building. He took that as an end, made an offer, and then told me, we were ready to sign a contract. And that was March of 2020. So you can imagine, a couple of weeks later, we were thinking, what have we done? But thankfully, we proceeded on and started working on historical applications in the summer of 21 and got everything approved towards the end of 21.
Yeah.
And the appraisal process and the bank loan process were quite cumbersome and were really our holdups. We had planned to start construction in April of 21, but didn't get started till August. And I think it's a little bit hard. Hopefully this will change for Lawrence in the future, what appraisals look like for these larger historic buildings.
The cost of the project was way more than the appraisal value. Yes. So as you know, anybody who's ever done anything, built a house or any project like that, you got to figure out how to either put in that equity or come up with something to fill that gap. So that's kind of what we were doing, trying to fill this large gap between the appraisal and the cost.
And I'm going to let Gary talk about the history of the building, and I'm going to hand out just some little visuals that I have, some pictures of construction and some old.
I'll talk loud. I was going to show you this picture. We found someone, I can't remember who gave us this picture, but the building, this was when it was being built in 1907, and it's actually, did you bring us this? Yes. It's steel. They actually use steel and rivets to build the frame of this building instead of wood. So it's really neat. So you go down to the, it's 3 floors, but it's a basement, so it's a walkout basement. So if you ever go in the back, it looks like 4 floors, and you can see this steel in the bottom of the basement. So it's really neat. The building was really well built, but over the years, like a lot of buildings, No one replaced the roof, so water poured in, and then from there, everything just got destroyed. So we're going to put a timeline on the wall in the second floor. So we've been trying to research. If anyone has any history that we don't know, we're not aware of, please let us know. What we have discovered is it was built in 1907. A lot of times people refer to it as the Palmetto Bank building, but the Enterprise Bank was the first bank there from like 1907 to 1936. It was the Enterprise Bank. And what's really neat is the Enterprise Bank in the 20s printed U.S. currency there. So there's a $20 bill we found on the internet. We've never seen one, never held one, but it looks like a $20 bill. But on the middle of it, it says printed by Enterprise Bank of Lawrence, South Carolina. It's really neat. We found one that auctioned off in 2010 for $12,000. Yeah, but I've never seen, like I've tried to Google and search. I've never seen one for sale other than that one that sold at auction. So I don't know how many are available. So we basically took that one and we're gonna make a color picture out of it because I don't even know where one's at or how much it would sell for at this point. Yeah. So in 36, Enterprise Bank, I think they had merged with People's Bank and become Enterprise People's Bank at some point, and then they liquidated in the 30s, and that's when Palmetto Bank moved in there in 36. The Palmetto Bank was only in there for 21 years. They moved out in 1957, and since then it's just been various occupants of that one little corner spot where Edward Jones is now. The Artist Coop is in the other side, and they've been there for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. And then the second and third floor in our current office, we were able to take a few glass out of some of the doors. So it was all, I guess you could rent how many office spaces you wanted up there, because doors went between, there was a door to the hallway, and then there's a door in between every office connecting to the next office. So you could rent 3 offices, shut off 2 of the doors to the hallway, and you can use the middle door. So there was all kinds of, probably some of you remember, there was some attorneys, there was all kinds of occupants of that floor. And so we were able to find 3 pieces of glass with the names on there that's still in decent shape. And we took the glass out and framed them, so we're going to hang those back in the building, and that was really neat. And then so I don't think the history there's not as much history once Palmetto Bank moved out. We can't find as much. We went over to the library looking through old newspapers, and we can't find as much once Palmetto Bank moved out. So I don't know as much from that 57 through now that we could find in the earlier years. So I don't know when the last time someone actually occupied the second floor. I don't know if that was maybe in the 80s.
Dr. Benson had his office on the second floor.
I don't know. Does anybody know when it last had someone occupy? I don't think the third floor has been used for a good number of years.
On the corner of Chestnut Street.
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah. But
Dr. Benson.
if you've ever been up there, the third floor was Masonic Lodge. And then I talked to some folks that are in their 70s that talked about a teen canteen that was up there on Thursday night. Dr. Bruce Summerall that we deal with, he said he used to go up there and they have a record player playing, and they called it Teen Canteen on the third floor. So, but it seems like that third floor just sort of got closed up 50 years ago and was just sort of left like that.
There are some folks that have talked about going to their senior proms up there.
Oh, wow. Well, that's kind of what we're doing now. So when we bought the building, I wanted to, and that brings me back one quick, is we named it the Bailey Building just because it was Enterprise, it's Palmetto, and our firm's going to occupy the second floor. So we just renamed it the Bailey Building going forward, in case you're wondering where that come from. But so that third floor, when we bought the building, I wanted to put apartments on it. And April said, well, I'll buy the building, but I love the top floor and the way it looks. It's like a ballroom. And so we compromised in this ballroom. So you'll get to see it up there. We're planning to, so the second floor will be just Love Bailey offices. We'll occupy the entire second floor. It's funny, our current office, it's about twice the size, 5,000 square foot per floor. So it's about twice the size of our current office, but only has one more office. And because these offices are so big, I guess because someone would company might rent out 2 spaces, but they were really large rooms. So some of them we've broken up and made them multiple staff offices. And then the third floor will be event space. So originally, what we'll do is we'll walk up to the third floor. There are workers in there, but we've added, there's a bridal suite with a private bath. We've added bathrooms, like multi-stall bathrooms, men's and women's. Catering kitchen. We have added an elevator, something that was never there, so our builders had to figure out where to build a shaft. And we've sprinkled the entire building, basement to the third floor. We did that we thought, no matter what the future holds, we could do anything we wanted with that building. If we put the sprinkler in there, we put the elevator in there, and then go ahead and cover that cost, which just kept going up like the elevator. And so we're kind of excited to get the building done, just so we know the expenses will stop. So someone recently asked me, because our budget more than doubled what we originally thought. And someone said, "Would you do it again?" And I said, "Well, I would, because the building looks wonderful. But if you told me how much it was going to cost before we got started, I would have probably been too scared to move forward with it." But it's I've said this to some other folks, but we're a small business here in Lawrence, and we have the shop local and all that. But it really is true. If we keep our money in Lawrence, hopefully the money stays in Lawrence, and more business owners will continue. Mayor Square is going through a great transformation right now, so it's just wonderful to see. Some of the things that we've added, like I said, an elevator, sprinkler. The water just poured through the top, and so some of the ceilings were falling in at the top, and then it was just pouring down the sidewall, so all the original plaster was just sort of falling off. But we actually, other than the second floor ceilings, the plaster was in such bad shape, we pulled that down and sheetrocked those ceilings. But all of the original plaster, we just tore out some of the original that wasn't any good, but we replastered. So the walls are all plaster, just repaired that. There was no HVAC originally, so we had to come up and figure out where to put HVAC on both floors. All new plumbing, basically we had a bad building with bad bricks and bad roof. They're even what they call tucking the bricks, so kind of cutting a portion of the mortar out. That's why if you see a scaffold on the side of the building, they're remortaring the brick where some of the brick's loose. So we wanted to be done. When we finished this building, we wanted it to be complete, meaning we didn't want to have to go back and say, "Oh, we should have fixed that brick," or "We should have did this." We wanted everything to be complete. And then they're going to seal, some kind of clear seal that helps with rain, the whole building, all the brick. And they said that'll make that building last another 100 years. So I don't want to say we didn't spare any expense. We didn't spare any expense, but it's been a good project. But I will end this, and then we'll go check it out. What really made it possible is the historical tax credits. So that building qualified for historical tax credits because it's on the historical register, and it also qualified for abandoned building credits because it had been more than 66% abandoned for 5+ years. So it's very expensive to hire someone to go get these credits for you. For instance, the gentleman that was going to do it for us, I think he was somewhere around $125,000. Now we qualified for $800,000 of credits. This will be public knowledge, I'll tell you, but we put just in the renovation $1.9 million, just in the renovation. And we'll get $800,000 of it back in credit. So that really made it doable, because I remind people that sometimes the cost of entry is inexpensive in Lawrence, but the labor and the materials is the same as Greenville and Charleston, but we don't get to charge the same rent as Greenville and Charleston. So you really got to figure out, and so those historical credits sort of fill that gap. So when me and April saw the price of those credits, we are CPAs, so we were like, well, we've never done that, but we can probably figure this out. So we did that part ourselves because we wanted every dollar spent to actually go into the construction. So we actually did that. So I tell Jonathan now, we know how to do this, and we're not going to charge you $125,000. So if someone is going to start a building, we can, renovate a building, we can help through that process to get these credits. Because we did all the research. I think April and I have spent, I would estimate at least 500 hours between the two of us on this building over the last 2 years, trying to get it to this point. So the inside, for the most part, will be complete this month. The chandeliers on the 3rd floor would not arrive till April 11th. There's a light here or there that won't arrive until July that they'll have to come back and install. But for the most part, the inside should be complete. The custom doors, we're tearing off the awning at Edward Jones, and in the middle section there's a half window. So we're adding custom double doors to Edward Jones' side and our side in the middle. Those won't be here till May or June. They're custom order. And then the back, we're paving up like a 16 car space parking lot back there. So folks will park in the back if they want to use the elevator, and we'll have a little elevator lobby. Will come in and take the elevator up. It'll have a stop at Artist Coop, our 2nd floor, and the 3rd floor. So, but we, like I said, electrical, all new, lots of paint. April has lots of paint on here. Sanding it. We have for the most part, all the original floors. Unless we pulled up a floor because we're putting tile down, it's all the original hardwood floors, which is really, really neat. They sanded out. It's dirty right now, but they sanded out really nicely. New roof, all new windows. They're putting some of the last windows on the 1st floor in the back right now. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much been a total kind of gut job on that whole building. But we're really excited. One, because we love the city. We want to continue to see it. I know so many of you, Jonathan, Mayor, so many on the boards have worked hard to get our city going in the right direction, and we just kind of wanted to be a part of that. And hopefully our practice will be there for many, many more years. And we were out of space in our current building. We have two more young accountants graduating this May that's joining us, and we were just out of space. That'll give us 13 in our office, and so we were just out of space. And one other thing before you go see the building, our building's already been sold, and the buyer is converting it into 3 apartments. So it's really, really neat. They're ready to get going as soon as we get out of there. So, anybody have any questions? We're glad to answer any. If not, we can. Yes, sir.
You might be interested to know that we restored the occupant house in the same way, restored credits.
Yeah.
The developer from Greensburg, Dwayne Anderson, came down here back in I guess it was the early 90s, and that was the only way we could get that building done.
It really does. It really does. Again, because the labor and the supplies are still the same here in Lawrence as anywhere else. It really fills that gap if you can get those credits to restore a building. And I think there's a lot more that would qualify on our square for credits as well. Yes, sir.
When do you expect the event center to be available for,
So,
if you're running it?
We have 4 wedding receptions already planned. The first one is May 7th. So,
so
yeah, we won't let anything, that is the last one, the earliest one, nothing can come in there before that date. Because like I said, the chandeliers are scheduled to arrive April 11th. We've confirmed that, but you know how supply chain is right now. And we're
Earlier this week, we thought we actually had them.
Yes.
And then I went and counted the lights, and I'm like, I think there's so many lights in the building. As you'll see, they're all in boxes on the top floor. I had to categorize them, and I realized, we don't have any chandeliers. We thought we had 6 out of 10. And then, found out, no, they haven't even shipped them yet.
Yeah, and it's a lot of lights. And probably the biggest thing with the project is the quantity of everything. It's the amount of square foot that you restored. So it's like one light's not expensive. When you buy 150 lights, then it gets very expensive. So.
Maybe we used a designer.
Oh yeah, we did. We used a designer out of Greenville who at the same time was restoring a historic building in West Greenville. Yeah, the Flatiron building. So that was really nice because she was going through this process at the same time. She's helping us to design ours as well. So, yes, sir.
How many square feet are in the building?
20,000. Yeah, 20,000 square feet. That includes the basement. It's 5,000 per floor. So it's a really large building. It really was well built. It's a shame that buildings don't get taken care of, and when that water starts pouring in, then it's trouble if you don't get that roof fixed. So I think the contractor said our roof, they stripped it all the way down to the bottom. They said, it'll last 20 years, and then in 20 years you'll put another layer on it. And then 20 years after that, you'll need to redo the whole roof. And so I told April, I said, so that means we need to sell the building in 39 years. So, any other? Well, what we thought is, there's workers on the second floor, and we have a large group. We may go up to the third floor, just let you look around, and then you can just kind of, we'll tell you about the second floor, and then you can just kind of make your way around. And when you're done, walk out. I figured it's too much of a group for us to try to go into each of the rooms on the second floor. So we'll just go to the third floor, and then you can just sort of walk around, look at whatever you'd like, and then if you have any questions, just let us know.
Thank you.
Daniel Will, Patty, Jonathan, right here, 2 minutes before we go.
All right. So thank y'all very much. I'm going to have you guys sign a book. We give a book to local elementary school. So if y'all would sign that as our speakers today. And I will say that we are extremely excited about the project, obviously, for downtown. But me more so because of the tax credits and the amount of help that was. I think this is our first project in downtown that's taking advantage of tax credits. And that's a huge tool for rehabbing buildings in historic downtown. So we appreciate Gary and April making this investment in downtown. Russell, thank you for being here today. We appreciate it. Glad to have you. Join us anytime you're in town. If you guys would stand with us today, we're going to do our four-way test and our motto. Our four-way test. Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And our motto.
Service above self.
Thank you.